like to welcome you all here today to this PhD defense. My name is Mona Dams from this Department of Development and Planning, and I have promised to chair this meeting. I don't suppose it's going to be a very challenging job, but anyhow we need someone to do it. We are here today because Chunfang Zhou will be presenting her PhD thesis. Some of you have it, and others may not have seen it. The title is Group Creativity Development in Engineering Education in Problem and Project-Based Learning Environment. I would like to extend a special welcome to our external assessors, Matt Hansen from Skolkovatek in Moscow.
Thank you.
Much as you are Swedish and formerly worked at the KTH, and Jonne Bernhardt, whom of course most of us know quite well because he's been coming here quite often from Linköping University in Sweden. So this is the two external members of the assessment committee, and the chairperson is our own Professor Lars Bo Henriksen. The PhD supervisor for Chunfang has been Annette Kolmos, and I think that's about the people involved. As you know, most of you at least, this PhD defense will take its usual course, meaning that Chunfang has 3/4 of an hour to do her presentation, and then there will be a short break. And if anybody from the audience other than the assessment committee wants to have a word, to comment or to question Chunfang's presentation and her work, then you are very welcome to do so, but please give me a note during the coffee break. The coffee break will take place in room 102. You just go out the door here, walk straight on, open the next door, and then on your right hand side you'll find the coffee and tea when that time comes. So then after the coffee and tea break, there will be comments from the assessment group, and I don't know how they have decided who takes the word first or how they do it, but I'll talk with them about that during the coffee break. And then afterwards, anyone from the audience who has probably announced his or her interest in asking questions will be given the possibility to do so. So the whole session should be over and done with more or less by not later than 4 o'clock. And then afterwards there is a reception donated by the department. I think that's all. Any questions for the time being, or any comments for the time being? Floor is yours, Chunfang.
Thanks for Mona. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my PhD defense. Today it is my great pleasure to stand here to introduce what I have learned during the past 4 years. However, before the introduction of my PhD project, I would like to tell you some stories which happened in China before I came to Denmark. These stories are some of my experience about how I became a researcher from working in engineering education from an engineering student. This experience, I describe this experience as a learning trajectory in my life. Actually, the first time when I realized I would do something related to engineering was in 1998, when I became a new engineering student in my university in China. I began to major in industrial automation in my bachelor study. During 1998 to 2002, I was labeled as one of the good students. I worked hard and did very well in the examination. I did believe that the good students would get good opportunities of looking for a job after graduation. So I kept this belief and enjoyed the learning process. However, before the graduation, in the last semester, when I began to look for the job, I met a lot of challenges. The fact was that the industry didn't welcome the female engineering student. They like boys very much, especially they like someone who has practical experience already. So as a girl, it is very hard for me to look for a job in engineering field. It was first time for me to realize that if you are able to become a good student in university, it doesn't mean you can have a good job in society, because there is a gap between the university education and the industry requirements. However, as the young students, we are not able to fill in this kind of gap, so we have to face this kind of challenge. Finally, I was a lucky dog. I found a job working as an engineering teacher in an engineering college in my hometown. In that college, I had 2-year teaching experience. At the beginning, I liked this job very much because I think I was a good student when I was in university. I could be a good teacher if I tried my best. But after 2 or 3 months, I found the job was very boring because I found a lot of students, they didn't like to study engineering knowledge in the classroom. However, their choices to go into engineering college are due to the wishes of their parents. Because they were too young to go to the society, so they have to have some kind of education. So when I gave them the lecture, they were playing, discussing, talking, laughing, even sleeping. As a young teacher who was really looking forward to good teaching and good learning, every time I would try to let them calm down, to sit carefully and listen to my lecture carefully. But it was very hard for them to do this. So, linking this situation to the challenges I met before the graduation, I couldn't help myself asking, what problem actually happened in the engineering education system? What can be done to stimulate engineering students' motivation? And what should be changed in order to foster the development of truly qualified engineers? I asked these questions, but I couldn't find possible answers, and I became very tired. So when the 3rd year came, I decided to change my background because I really need some kind of new challenges in my life. So I decided to say goodbye to engineering field. From 2007 from 2004 to 2007, I became a master's student studying in philosophy of science and technology. When I touched this new field, I found I was very naive to say goodbye to engineering, because there I meet a second keyword in my life, creativity. I thought creativity may be a new weapon to deal with the problems I meet when I was a teacher. So, my master project was about creativity development in engineering education in China. I picked up the confidence to return the engineering education field, but from another perspective. Based on the master study, it is very clear that creativity should be a necessary element integrated in engineering education system. Because the current engineering education is facing challenges from the engineering practice, which should be considered in social context, and the engineering practice itself should be considered as a complex system, because it contains a lot of factors, such as engineering design, project management, and problem solving. These factors interact with each other. Meanwhile, some other factors from the social context, such as safety requirements, economic feasibility, and some ethical issues, they also increase this kind of complexity. So creativity could help engineering students to face the challenges by dealing with this complexity. But in order to foster creative engineers, the barriers exist in the engineering education system. So we need a change. But how to change is another problem. After the master study, I began to seek for some good strategies. Although at that time there was not a big market for PBL in China, but it had been mentioned a lot of times in the study. So in 2008, with 3 keywords in my mind, creativity, engineering education, and PBL, I came to Denmark to to start a four-year PhD project work. That is why today I stand here to have this defense. The title of the project is Group Creativity Development in Engineering Education in Problem and Project-Based Learning Environment. You will easily find that there are three keywords in my title: Group Creativity, Engineering Education, and PBL. That means one of the basic tasks for me to start this project is to make a clear understanding of group creativity. What does group creativity mean? Let's start the meaning of creativity. Generally, creativity means to develop new and useful ideas. The creativity research was studied from 1950s. During the past years, there are a lot of perspectives and approaches to study creativity. Basically, we can say there are four main approaches. First one is the personal approach, which means to understand the traits, the characteristics, or attributes of the creative personality. The second approach is place approach, which means to emphasize the environment where the person works, which may be conducive and adaptive of creativity. The third approach is product approach, means to focus on the qualities of a product which make it creative. The last approach is process approach, means to describe the stage of thinking that creative people use to invent something new and useful. Meanwhile, the study also demonstrates that we should use a system view to see creativity, because the four approaches are not isolated, they influence with each other. So we should have a system view to see creativity. Meanwhile, the recent social approaches, they provided some powerful evidence on the seeking roles of context on creativity development. So based on the studies, we can see that the creativity research, it has been developed from earlier focus on isolated individuals and their internal strengths and capabilities to a later focus on interaction between individuals and the environment. That is, the focus of creativity research has been shifted. It has been shifted from what creativity is to where creativity happens. Then, in my project work, it is necessary to further clarify the understanding of creativity by considering where creativity happens. Where creativity happens. Firstly, I would like to say creativity happens in mind. This means to use the person cognitive or psychological approaches to study, because any creative ideas is generated from the cognitive process in mind. Secondly, I would like to say creativity happens in collaboration. This means to focus on collaborative process, which is beyond individual level. It also means to focus on the interpersonal interactions and their shared version of something new and useful. That is what I should focus in my project, group creativity. And then I would like to say creativity happens in social system. This means to consider the social influences on creativity development. And these influences included social structure, economy, culture, religion, policy, community, organization, or family. Based on the understanding of creativity and group creativity, I have to ask myself, where group creativity happens in my project? There are two research contexts. One is project organized teams in China. Another one is problem-based learning environment in Aalborg University in Denmark. In China, when the engineering students, when they go to the master level, when they go to the second year, they have opportunities to join the project work and study in team. So the project team consists of the supervisors and their different level and different background students. But most of the projects are at least longer than 1 year. But in every semester, there are always some new students come in and all students leave. Then the high rate of personal turnover exists in these teams. It also should be noted here that The supervisors play triple roles in the teams. Firstly, they are professors in university. Secondly, they are team leaders who are in charge of the application of project and finish the project report. Thirdly, they are experts in some certain engineering field. PBL environment at our university was chosen as the research context here because it's long tradition of PBL in engineering education. We think PBL could a possible strategy of fostering creative engineers because at least it can provide three conditions. First, the problem orientation and project work. Second, the group learning context. And third, the shift from teaching to learning, the shift from teaching to facilitation. Within the two research contexts, one main research question was asked: how do engineering students develop group creativity in problem and project-based learning environment? And what can PBL learn from group creativity in engineering education? Based on the main research question, 4 separate research questions were designed. A. How should we understand group creativity as a social cultural conception in an engineering education environment? B. How are engineering students motivated to develop group creativity in a PBL environment? C. How does a PBL environment influence the interplay between individual creativity and group creativity? D. What efforts can be made in order to improve PBL as a strategy for fostering creative engineers? In order to answer these questions, some empirical work have been done. Here you can find a brief review of my empirical work. There are 4 pictures. Picture 1 happens in project organized team in China, and picture 2, 3, and 4 happens in our university. Because I only have 45 minutes here, so I would like to choose one of picture to introduce. It is a satellite project work at our university in Denmark. The satellite project work, which I followed here, was the 3rd student satellite in Department of Electronic System. It was started from 2007 and was ended in 2010. The basic of the satellite was to provide an automatic identification system which could help the ships in the sea to contact with each other. And with the Aalborg University, this project has a joint venture. It was organized through different departments. These departments include Department of Electronic System, Department of Medical Engineering, Department of Computer Science, and Department of Energy Technology. My empirical work in this project will start from May in 2008 and end in December in 2009. During this period, there are 12 students and 2 supervisors who followed in their daily learning activities. The students come from 2 groups in 6th semester, 3 groups in 7th semester, and 1 group in 9th semester. It is different from the other project is. In every semester, the students would find the project announcement on the website. Then the students who wanted to join this project, they gather together to start their own peer-oriented process of group building. Within the group, the task is assigned by group discussion, and each group has a group coordinator who was in charge of the group meeting and collaboration between the groups. So the students have group meeting once a week, supervisor meeting once a week, project meeting once a month. Besides this meeting, the students always have discussions, especially when they have disagreements. Even during the lunchtime, they have some kind of debate. From the students' perspective, why they come to satellite? There are 3 main reasons. First one is they think satellite sounds very interesting. Second is they think satellite is very complex. They want to learn more knowledge and skills. Thirdly, they think satellite provides some good opportunities to prepare for the future workplace. However, from the supervisor perspective, they think besides the supervision in the daily activities, they also face some challenges. As one of the supervisors said here, we are not sitting next to God's right hand or doing everything well. It is a balance on the edge, on the knife, doing invisible supervision, or in other words, just guiding the students and letting them not be aware of what we are doing. But we shall also at the same time do team building and from time to time take the tough decisions. When we did the AAU SAT2 and tried to get deployable solar panels, nobody could decide the tough thing when I had to say we are flying these panels, let us go for plan B. So the challenges come from the complexity of project work. Here it is a brief review of the picture in satellite project. Based on the 4-part empirical work, I have multiple methods, and the data were collected from different students' groups in both research contexts. Then I get some findings. There are 4 parts of finding. Each of part finding responds to each of sub-research questions. Based on the 4 parts of finding, I get the final conclusions, which aims to answer the main research question in this study. Then let's go to finding A. The aim of finding A is to answer how should we understand group creativity as a social cultural conception in an engineering education environment. Here we have 2 kinds of engineering education environments. One is project-organized teams in China. Another one is problem-based learning environment in Denmark. We found that as a social cultural conception, in both environments, group creativity has a lot of influencing factors. For example, in the Chinese context, the factor includes the time schedule, the challenge of task, the members' relationship, the clarity of the goals, the group diversity, the risk-taking, conflict, or rewards, group size, or group openness, and so on. In the Danish context, this factor includes attitude, working habit, confidence, peer support, group goals, disagreements, clarity of goals, members' relationship, time schedule, and challenges. These factors influence with each other and play a common role on group creativity development. Meanwhile, I mark here with different colors. You can find there are both same and different factors between the 2 contexts. For example, the same factor includes the clarity of the goals, the members' relationship, the challenge of task, and the time schedule. It also should be noted here that in the 2 contexts, the supervisors have different attitudes towards group creativity development. In China, the supervisors are team leaders, so they are in charge of the movement of the project. And for the students, they only have the opportunity to follow the project. They didn't have the opportunity to manage their learning by themselves. However, in Denmark, in the PBL environment, the students are the owners of the learning. They design the project, they manage the activity by themselves. So we found the differences between the 2 contexts. Based on this analysis, we can see that group creativity is a social activity because it happens in the interaction between peers, between students and supervisors, and between students' groups and project work. It is influenced by a lot of factors drawn from various learning environments, as well as the broader social cultural context. Since we find both same and different factors between the 2 contexts, so we can say that group creativity is both cultural general and cultural specific. This is finding A. Then let's go to finding B. The aim of finding B is to answer how are engineering students motivated to develop group creativity in a PBL environment. By taking satellite project as an example, firstly, I will say there are a lot of ways of influences in PBL environment on motivation of group creativity. These ways mainly come from three aspects. One is the management of learning process. Second is the generation of group creativity. Third is the roles of supervisor. Here you can find a brief review of the different ways of influencing motivation from the three aspects. For example, from the aspects of management of learning process, the ways like peer-arranged process of group building, and follow the principle of group diversity in process of group building, and make group notes by students themselves. From the aspect of generation of group creativity, some ways like formal discussion and informal discussion, and collaboration between students across different semesters. From the aspect of roles of supervisor, the ways like communication with student group in both meeting and daily basis, and encouraging collaboration and sharing experience among different groups, and so on. These multiple ways and some factors as what I said in answering question A. They interact with each other, and we also find the stimuli and barrier factors in PBL environment. The stimuli includes that the common goals, the clarity of tasks, the relationship between members, the equal individual tasks, and the group openness, etc. And students think the time may be one of the barriers to motivation to group creativity, because they think they have a lot of ideas, but they didn't have enough time to realize these ideas. And sorry. And this indicates that we found some suggestions for our supervisor in the future to improve the work. From the supervisor perspective, they think that the best way to develop creativity means to let students to have enough space to have a try. But in satellite projects, because the problems are very complex, when the students are supposed to be given enough space to have a try, they didn't have enough time and they easily lost their way. So that means the conflict exists between the high-level challenges of the project and the pressures of the deadline. So we should suggest that in the future, students should be provided with appropriately difficult problem. This is the finding B. Then let's go to finding C. The aim of finding C is to answer how does a PBL environment influence the interplay between individual creativity and group creativity. Firstly, I will say project here can be described as an actual group member. This metaphor was used here because project is a key part of learning. It leads students to both individual and group goals. Group creativity is developed by some kind of conversation between students and the project. And this conversation is back and forth processes. During such process, the project asks students to meet challenges, to call for group discussions, and to speed up group decision. The students in this process, they react in collaborative ways in order to answer this project. In this process, the motivation of group creativity increases, and students get opportunity to have a deeper learning process. Secondly, we found that the student has tacit collaborative ways in the groups. This means before the group building, a lot of students, they knew it with each other, so they are very, very familiar with each other. In the learning activities, a lot of things have been done by some implicit ways, and that means group creativity is developed from some informal shared use of inexpressible collaborative experience. In this kind of relationship, the trust between the peers is the foundation of the tacit collaboration. Last one, I found there are domain general and domain specific understanding of creativity among students. Because the study was carried out with different students from different areas. The areas includes electronic system, computer science, architecture and design, and mediology. We found that all students think creativity is very important for their future, but they have diverse definition and diverse levels of confidence to be creative. For example, for students from electronic system and computer science, they think creativity is not very relevant to their field, and they have poor understanding and lack of confidence to be creative. The students from architecture and design and mediology, they think their field is very relevant to creativity, and they have very good understanding of creativity, and they have strong confidence. Then let's go to finding D. The aim of finding D is to answer what efforts can be made in order to improve PBL as a strategy for fostering creative engineers. Firstly, we should have some strategies to integrate creativity training into PBL. And this kind of integration should be a long-term element. That means we should introduce different creative techniques into daily instruction and different phases of project. Because in different phases of project, students meet different challenges. And when we do this, we should be careful that we should avoid overemphasize creativity training. If we give students too many techniques, they will have misunderstanding that creativity just means to use some techniques. Secondly, we should design multiple approaches to creativity. This is because the different characters among the different domains in engineering. For example, for the students studying in computer science or electronic system, we should do something to let them focus on the interesting topic about creativity, to let them have a clear understanding of creativity and increase their confidence to be creative. For the students studying in architectural design and mediology, because the creative design is the core part of their learning, so we should give them flexible ways. Third, we should provide the appropriate level of problem of students. We get this suggestion from the satellite project. That means for the educators, we should give a greater sense of awareness of the complex relationships between the student, teacher, and the task, and any possible students' responses in order to identify the appropriate means of motivating creativity. Last one, we should facilitate staff development on teaching creativity. A more comprehensive conceptualization of creativity must first be shaped among educators in PBL environment. Because only when educators pay more attention to creativity, students will get more opportunities to be creative. This is the last part of funding. Then let's go to the conclusions. Although some ideas has been discussed when we answer the sub-questions, but it is necessary to emphasize here that good creativity development is a social cultural activity. It is both cultural general and cultural specific. In PBL environment studied here, project work was the key to construct a learning community. The project challenges stimulate motivation and interplay between individual and group creativity. However, at times, group creativity can be developed tacitly. That means the long-term collaborative relationship between students are built, and the trust between the peers is the basis of such collaborations. And we also find both domain general understanding and the domain specific understanding of creativity exist among engineering students. So, for PBL environment, it can be formed by both its strengths and weaknesses in fostering creative engineers, which could serve to highlight the efforts needed for further improvement. Some efforts, for example, to overcome the students' poor conceptualization and poor confidence to creativity, to provide long-term creativity training to engineering students, to encourage teaching staff to focus on creativity, and to apply multiple strategies which are appropriate to the diverse disciplines in engineering education, and so on. This is the main research question in my study, which aims to answer the main research question. This is main conclusion in my study, which aims to answer the main research question. And from overview of this study, it has both contributions and limitations. The contributions conclude it improves the awareness of fostering creative engineers and showing diverse pictures of creativity in engineering education. Because this study was carried out in both Danish and Chinese context, we see different pictures between the two countries. And we also see different pictures within one common PPL environment at Auburn University. It also built a relationship between group learning and group creativity and provides a new PPL perspective to group creativity in engineering education. Then it brings some new prospects for future study. However, it has limitations. The limitations are caused by, firstly, the problem of language. Ask the Chinese who come to Denmark to have the English study. During the beginning period, the English skills was the barriers to study. Also in the interviews, some Danish students who are not good at English speaking are the barriers to the data collection. Secondly, the limitations is caused by the problem of data management. Because I have so much empirical work, and the transcription work was delayed after the interview. And the last problem is the research design. Because I choose the paper collection as a PhD thesis. When I finished the final report, I found there are a lot of overlapping points between the different papers because I want to publish them. And I also found there are lack of theoretical points between these papers. So this is another problem. These limitations give me some implications for improvement in my future study. Finally, I would like to say thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much to you, Chunfang. That was very nice, and you were on time, or even before time. So thank you very much for that. I think we will just all now move to the coffee room and have a cup of tea, and then we will rejoin here. Shall we say at 2 o'clock? And anybody who wants to pose questions,